Welcome back to episode number 9 of You Have 2 Minutes. Tonight, I'm very lucky to be joined by the Birmingham team manager, Stewart Dickson. Stewart, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on.
So first of all, we look back about a month ago. Birmingham were in a bit of a dire position, really. They were near enough bottom of the table. Things weren't going to plan. How did the move for you come about to double? Because, obviously Speedway riders double up, but I think it's one of the first times we've had a team manager double up. But how did that come about?
It came about basically through my Leicester connections initially. Nick Morris and Justin Sedgman were keen to try and get me in to see if I could help at Birmingham the same way I was turned up in Leicester. And I think Nick Morris and Sedgy had spoke to Nigel Tolley, the owner at the club, and get there.
And how important has it been from your side to know that Nigel's backed you 100% financially and everything with the signings you've brought in? Is it important to have somebody like that that will back you with what, they've put their trust into you to do what's right?
Yeah, we kind of touched on in our initial chat. He a vision. He wanted to make the playoffs, which we all do. And I kind of wouldn't say sold him I told him sort of thing, and he was pretty much up on board for it straight away. So that was pretty the easy part because Nigel's his support for Birmingham Speedway I think has been known for a couple of years, and he's been in to do the job that he brought me in to do. Yeah.
And you've looked at now, obviously, it's a very different team that you've got now to what you inherited. What was it like for that first meeting at Oxford where, you're coming in, there's eyes on you, but you're still working with the previous riders? Is it just get through that as a stepping stone to where you wanted to get to in the long run?
Yeah, it was. I was under no illusions when we went to Oxford. It was going to be difficult. We got 35 points, which was, looking at the last couple of weeks' results before that, was a bit more respectable. It's a very to a top table. I wasn't kidding for a moment that it was going to be the best. There was a load of Birmingham supporters there and 2 or 3 others at the You've always got a duty to put on a show wherever you go, and I think we certainly gave a better account of ourselves than we had recently. But as I say, I was under no illusions it wasn't going to be the team that I wanted going forward.
And did you have an idea before the changes? Did you know who you wanted, or was it when you got into that role and you started putting the feelers out, was it the ideas just kind of placed themselves?
I started to look after I spoke to Nigel because it was obvious that I think something's going to happen further, and in the interim period before we'd done a deal to bring me to Birmingham, started looking to see what could be done, couldn't be done in that respect of signings. Yeah.
You've brought in a former Grand Prix rider in Troy Batchelor. There was a lot of scepticism about him coming in. Do you think he proved a lot of people wrong with 3 race wins off the back of 8 months or something like that off the bike?
Yeah, I think he did. I don't think I have to tell, if I'll be perfectly honest. But the fact is, he's a very good getter. I knew, look at his scores. I think he rose the last 2 occasions he's been at Perry Bar. I think he's accumulated 28 points meetings. So we're signing a rider who likes the Perry Bar home track. And first things first is to try and start winning to get the confidence up before we get too above ourselves. So I knew he'd be a good signing around our home track, yeah.
And you've brought Sam Hagan in, who's got a hell of a lot of potential. He's unproven at championship level, but he showed glimpses of what he can do with his speed the other night. Is that just sort of, being around the experience in that pit? Is that to bring him on with no pressure on him?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you rightly said he was on the pace. For me, he'll only get better the more meetings. I know that's a big statement, but for me, the more meetings he gets, will get his gating a little bit sharper. I watched him at Workington on Saturday for Little Line Cubs. He was in as a guest in the National League, and he scored 10 for 4. and acquitted himself very well. So, as I say, he will only get better for them to get.
And we've obviously saw the two further changes now with Starkey coming in and Stefan coming back. What was it your plan always to have those two riders? I suppose your arm was forced a little bit with Joe breaking his collarbone at Edinburgh. Was then that just the case that Dan was kind of a victim of the numbers, but when you've got riders with the experience of Steph and Starkey that can come in within that points range, it strengthens everywhere, really.
The Stefan Nielsen, the deal was he was at Dan Thompson was signed the replacement, so Stefan was always to come back in, and I honoured that agreement that the club had with Stefan as base with found out his date of back. So Dan, on his 28-day period, and finally he get fixed up at Plymouth, which championship something he really needs. When I then Joe told me I was that night when he breaks his column at Edinburgh, and obviously you're looking 6 weeks sort of thing. And so that coincided, averages changing, and then I looked to see what points we had. Averages coming in the 1st of July. David Rowe at Birmingham is very clued up when it comes to averages and such like. So I'm in communication with him quite regular. We worked out the averages, we got it down to a T, and we looked Paul Stark's number on a 486, and that was basically he fitted, and that was the reason he offered the job.
And now you've got that, you've got Stefan, Starkey, and Alfie all around the same average. For now, Alfie slots in at reserve, and with what he's been doing at number 2, that's a real trump card to have riding at number 7 tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. That was the key to it, was having one of those 3 that you've just mentioned there at reserve when we're rebuilding the team, and it just happened that Alfie's average was doing it. I think it's 478, which was slightly lesser than 483, 486 guys respectively, and that. See when you're playing about with your calculator and you see the magic number, and it's and you go, does this really fit? And it fitted to a T. And as you rightly said, getting Alfie at reserve maybe a big plus for the month of July. Yeah.
We now look at your other team as well. You're doing really well with Leicester in the Premiership. Like how did just touching on how did that team building come together? Because you've kind of gone down that route of a strong top 3 or top 4, and then like riders with a lower average to fit in the gaps. Like, does Sedgy started really well, Jake Allen, and they've just signed Drew Kemp. Is that like a very is that a championship winning team for you for the Premiership now?
The thinking behind this, we're in the Premiership. I was there for they had in the so that the plan in my head was to go with Premiership campaigns, experienced ridables, any foreigner who'd never seen the tracks before. I felt, we keeping Nick Morris was also good as well, because he'd raced for Leicester the last 2 seasons in the Championship. Obviously, getting Max Frick was a real coup, and we're now felt what it's like to have a top number 1 to lead us for the front. Chris Harris, Richard Lawson, were good sides because we're steady eddies in the Premier. I couldn't take the chance of bringing in a 7-point form rider who might do a 5 this year, and then we'd get better the following turn. We had to hit the ground running. Justin Sedgman was a rider that I wanted very early doors, because he's such a good gator at the number 2 position at Leicester, where he would get the inside one, and wins his first race, 10-1 and scored 10, 11 points per meeting. So that was the reason behind that. And the 2 reserves, Jake Allen, he's in campaigner, who's scoring very well for the team. If he's going to put this forward, yeah.
And you're heavily involved in track prep at Leicester. Coming to Birmingham, you're just in as a team manager role. Does that help you with, you can give a little bit of advice here and there if you need to, but does it help you just to focus on the team managing side rather than having to jump on the tractor after heat 4 or 7 to put water down?
Yeah, So that was the thing. I made it quite clear that I didn't really want to be involved in any track preparation. Track for me, where you're the first man in the stadium and you're the last man to leave, and you're blading the track at the end of the night. So be careful that it's two things. He's got a good track man in John Priest anyway, so I'm comfortable with the situation, and he prepared the track. The first match against Bed. Hopefully, weather permits. It's looking a bit more hopeful now. The same sort of track to the platform for us to do our stuff on tomorrow night.
You touch on the weather there, and I think this is quite important. Does it have an impact? You've got fans who will speculate on the weather and post on social media, and that could possibly put people off coming. Does that have an impact on attendances? Because I'm quite opinionated in the fact that it can do. If somebody's planning on making a journey and they see, speculation, what would your advice as a team manager to fans of your club be to, avoid speculating and just trusting the club, I suppose?
Without a doubt, I agree with you that it does have a knock-on effect on attendances. There's no doubt about that. When people, especially if it's posted and it's inaccurate, that's the thing that I think concerns most promoters, stroke on. Also from the point of view that the price of fuel now, and maybe folks taking a day off, will be glad to have down tomorrow, or fans coming from anywhere. Pennies. The leisure pound, shall we say, is going to be spent properly, and maybe on a weekly basis, a fortnightly basis, and folk, I think, are almost looking for the meeting, to be blue skies and a positive forecast before they're going to venture out the door. All of them, but certainly some of the supporters who don't go regularly. So at Birmingham, we're just the same as any other track. We need as many supporters as we can get. But I know the drainage class at Birmingham, that's one thing I do know. And I'm very hopeful, we'll get it on tomorrow night, plays ball, yeah.
You've spoke about the supporters, and it has been mentioned in the preview. You saw some comments about supporters not turning up because the team looked weak, and now it looks a very competitive team. What would be your rallying cry as the team manager to supporters now after a tough start?
I think it's basically, come and give us another try. If you've came before and you never liked what you've seen, I wasn't there, I can't comment, but I can understand looking at results, in the league table. But, the owner has stuck to his promise. I believe he came out and made quite a statement before I arrived. And, he's put his money where his mouth is. He's done what he said he would do. And it would be nice if the Birmingham would give us another chance, give us another go, and come out tomorrow night, because I think we're going to need all the backing we can. I know Glasgow, I know them very well, obviously, from my time, and they will bring a travelling support down. So we need the Birmingham supporters out with their colours on tomorrow night and cheers over.
And as a rider, you kind of look back and think, I want to get one over on my own club. Is that of your old club? Is that the same kind of thinking as a team manager for you? Like, I think Cammy Brown was the assistant when you were there. I may be wrong on that one, but would it be nice for you to get one over on him and on Glasgow, especially coming off the back of a very, very heavy defeat at Poole last week?
For me, it's more about Birmingham than it is Glasgow. I've got to be honest. Obviously, when I was Leicester in the Championship and we raced Glasgow my first season in the playoff final and we beat them, yes, I did want to win that badly that night for reasons best known to myself. But I think the fact that I've been away a bit longer now for Glasgow, I'm away from Glasgow now. There's a lot of water under the bridge that's happened since then. For me, as I said in the preview, they're unbeaten in the league so far. I know they lost at Poole, but other than that, they've been pretty. Andy can lose heavily. And for me, I would be based for the folks or this team by themselves together, gels. But the fact is, we've got them in my second match at home. We're just going to have to get and get tore into them, basically. But no much difference because it's Glasgow. I think it's because the quality of where is what's concerning me more than it being my old team.
And sort of what is the, you've obviously released your lineup now with Stefan at 2 and Starkey at 4. Was it important to have a big hitter? Like, could Starkey have gone at 2? Could Stefan have gone at 4? Or do you think that is the best way to maximise what you've got in that top 5 now?
I lined up. I remember seeing Stefan Dickson rival a couple of years was at Leicester, sort of thing, before he got injured. And I noticed one thing: he's a very good gator. He's good at the starts. So what I would just with Leicester, having a strong gator at number 2 in your first ride when you get the inside gates. I see Stefan maybe a stronger gator than Paul Stark, and that's the reason why I went with Stefan at 2 and Paul Stark at 4. Paul Stark, it's going to be a very, very solid engine room if the two of them can ride to form.
And you've got a really difficult period coming up now, especially at home, probably the 2 toughest teams on paper in the entire league. What would, if fans aren't going to turn out to watch this and watch the excitement of this, they're never going to turn out at this point.
You're right to say we've got Glasgow and Poole, 2 of the toughest, arguably Oxford mixed together. They're riding on a crest, they'll have something I never envisaged. Fair play to them. But no, I think hopefully you need a combination of good weather in the afternoon tomorrow. We've got good opposition. Fans will travel hopefully as well. And Poole next weekend, another top class team. So hopefully the fans will come out and back us. Maybe they won't all come out straight away, but maybe will take a bit more convincing than others. But hopefully if we start job period.
And obviously, you said when you took over the job at Birmingham, you spend, Leicester racing on a Monday and a Thursday in the Midlands for most of the week. How are you finding your time in the Midlands away from the lovely Scottish sunshine and stuff? Is it, is it nice to just keep busy while you're here rather than sitting around and twiddling your thumbs or whatever?
That's a lot of that came into it. You're right what you say, and I look at my window. The sun's the shine. We'll take a note of that in Glasgow at the moment. It's actually quite a nice evening. But the often had way much on Monday and I'm matching on a Thursday, so I wouldn't tend to go up the road. I would say the Tuesday, Birmingham Wednesday fitted very well into plans, and that was one of the reasons where it was easy to get something. What we're not doing Tuesday is maybe fix the track, pull the track back in if we Monday night and a Wednesday for the Thursday meeting. So, but you can only do so much, and then you start doing more stuff and maybe doing stuff to the track just because out of boredom. You say to yourself, well, you don't really need to do that until match day itself. But it's worked quite well, and as I say, I know I'm a double up team manager, and I know you said at the start of the programme, you think it's ever been done before. Simon was actually a double up team manager in 2018 with Leicester in the Premiership and Sheffield in the Championship. He done a full season because it was him I replaced. So I know it has been spoken in higher quarters than this, shall we say, about a manager doubling up. And I just remind people out there it has been done before, and there was no objection. Simon stayed for a season.
And just finally to touch on, obviously you've got everything in place from your side now. This is going to be going out on the supporters club page. How important is it to have a good supporters club behind to try and do everything possible, to keep the fans engaged on a race night? I know, speaking to Andy, the chairman, that you sent Sam Hagan out to join in with the kids' stuff last home meeting. Yep. Is it important for the youngsters, because they're the next generation? Is it important to have, a rider present with them if it's doable? Obviously, if the meeting's still really tight or whatever, you're going to want your riders in. But is it important to rebuild that fan interaction with the youngsters in particular?
Yep. Obviously, as I say, I don't know what it was like before I came, but that's one thing. Me and Andy, when he introduced himself to me with a good wee chat for or so, anything that I do from a rider's point of view, just come and speak to me, let me know. Obviously, come 7:30, I get on with my job, and I'm a lot more serious than maybe what I am now. If we can have a bit of laugh, the riders tell you on the track what we're a bit of fun, but come 7:30, you become a different person because you've got a job to do. But I mean, up till then and at the interval and such, like, if there's anything we can do to help, I did notice in my first meeting that we'll get the odd rider who wins a race here and there, and they're not coming round to do a lap of honour. This is something I need to get as well. Getting the supporters club is definitely something we need to do. I mean, we're all in it together, and these riders, some of them, some need to remember they're no Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. You know what I mean? They're speedway riders, and sometimes they can be a wee bit above themselves, and they need to muck in. People's paying their hard-earned money, and they want to be entertained. And the least they can do is win the race, to post in the race.
I think we'll wrap up there. That was perfect. Massive thanks for coming on tonight. I know a lot of people wanted to hear from you. I know you've done the odd interview here and stuff on social media, but massive thanks for coming on tonight. And hopefully the crowd will turn out tomorrow night and the Brummies can get another win on the board.
Excellent. That's the plan. Thanks for having me on. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, Stuart.
Bye-bye. Bye.